Some are calling it a national scandal, and many don't come face to face with it until they're in a life and death struggle. I'm talking about a shortage of drugs in this country, from cancer drugs to other critical medicines. While the crisis CBS 4 News was first to report nearly 2 years ago, well, those headlines seems to have faded from the press, but the nightmare for many has not. Today, we step into the shoes of one Florida mom who's living it.
You want to make brownies?
Yes, I like brownies.
Every day I try and memorize what my kids look like, because I don't want to ever forget that, you know? And what if I do go blind?
That was Jennifer LaCagnata 22 months ago as she shared her story and plea to get a drug that could save her eyesight. Incredibly, it's still not being made for humans in this country or anywhere on the planet. And now she and her attorney, Alan Black, are reaching out to the U.S. Supreme Court for action. I'm so pleased today to be able to bring them to you in person with really an inspiring story. Jennifer, to me, you are such a mom, you're such a wife, and you're such an advocate, not just for yourself, but so many others, including children in need of critical drugs. And you come here today with one of your eye patches, your children always design them, trying to put a good face on this. But you have been living a torment, and tell us what's happened to your eyesight since we last met.
It's deteriorating. They can no longer correct my left eye with prisms, so I'm in the patch all the time.
And at night, do you say, I can't believe it's nearly 2 years later and I'm still in this spot, getting worse, and there seems to be no answer for you?
Yeah, I do say that. It's in February, it'll be 3 years, so it's unbelievable to me that it just continues on.
But you keep fighting.
Yeah, we try.
And somehow you met this gentleman, because I know this is not an easy fight, and tell us, you're trying to take what's been a lot of human suffering, a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of questions with the government, and put it in a way to try to say, Supreme Court, help us. Tell us what you're hoping to do legally.
Well, we've petitioned for certiorari, which is requesting the Supreme Court to hear the case. We're not asking them to decide the case necessarily, but say this is an important issue, we'd like to explore it. Unfortunately, what happened in our initial filings with the court was that the judge looked at it and kicked it out in 2 days. He said, you can't make a manufacturer produce a drug. But of course, the counter argument to that is they're the only manufacturer allowed to make it in the United States. So if they're not going to make it, where is Jennifer supposed to get, in this case, vitamin A? It would be against the law for her to go and buy it from another supplier. Yes. So if there's no duty to make it, then what's the solution? Are patients supposed to wait until it's available? Are they supposed to go to secondary markets, perhaps unregulated markets? Mm-hmm. And in fact, that's what happened to a number of Florida residents during the meningitis outbreak.
Yes.
There was a shortage, so they went to compounding pharmacies, and 25 Floridians were killed. So is that Jennifer's position?
This is a real threat to many, many people.
Right.
Now, if you're the company, I guess you say, well, listen, we're a capitalist society. If we don't want to make this drug anymore, we
Sure.
don't have to.
Absolutely.
How do they position themselves?
Well, that's the point. They say if you looked at it as a free market economy,
yes.
people can come in and go as they please.
Yes.
But it's not a free market.
Yes.
There's one supplier that's allowed to produce it. So
can the government change that?
We've certainly petitioned the FDA. We haven't heard anything, and in fact, in our petition to the FDA, I think it's going on 2 years now, maybe 3. But they said these issues are complex, and they just can't give us an answer.
And I know you speak for, as this snakes its way through courts and all, you speak for so many others, even parents of children that haven't been able to find their drugs. Why should all of us care about that? Because it could be tomorrow when the drug that we rely upon is just not there for us. So tell us, what the bigger picture for you is and why you think everyone needs to wake up to this.
Because it could be you. It's not just the person who has cancer, or it just the average everyday Joe down the street. I mean, who would have thought that vitamin A would be such a big thing here in America? If I lived in Ethiopia, I'd be normal. I would probably have access.
And you also, because of other medical complications, right, you need to have a certain type of vitamin A.
Correct.
And also, I know there were times we talked about, isn't there some available that could be for cattle? And like it actually puts her in a position of thinking, you know, should I take what is even available for cattle?
Absolutely. I mean, what's the choice? Wait and die from vitamin A deficiency? Or, in the case of cattle, in fact,
Yes.
we have some here, they're on a corn diet, so they don't get vitamin A. So farmers supplement with vitamin A injections, just like for humans.
And so you've even petitioned the court or asked to see if that could even be possible for a human to take?
Well, it seems like it's an option. I mean, it's a desperate one.
Yes.
But we need the government's guidance to help us out here.
Yes.
Waiting's not an option. Vitamin A's deficiency is progressive. Blindness can become permanent, and people do die from vitamin A deficiency. It doesn't end well.
What is your message to the Supreme Court today?
Listen to the case, listen to her story, and ultimately, let's, as a group, you know, with opposing counsel there, take a look at the Food, Drug, and Cosmetics Act and see if this is a reasonable result. And if it's not, let's do something about it. And right now, Medicare and Medicaid are paying for her health care. She can't work. So these are catastrophic consequences, not just for her, but for the entire society.
Yes, yes.
And I think the Supreme Court should at least take a look at it.
Well, I think that, you know, you're one of the first to step up there and say, let's take a pioneering look, let's look at it. Your voice has been so strong. We'll be continuing the story also on CBS 4 News in the weeks ahead. We thank you for, you know, sharing it with us and visiting, and so many people are behind you and your battle, and we just wish you the best of health and the best with your family, and we'll try to help you echo your voice. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Michelle.
And thank you so
you.
much for visiting.